evening, everyone. So here is our topic under chapter 2, which talks about types of assessment. So first things first, what is assessment? So assessment is an essential and powerful tool in teaching and learning process. So moreover, it is a process of obtaining data which we could measure the students' competence and learning outcomes. So the process begins with the identification of the target goals before collecting and interpreting the information. So classifying and synthesizing of the gathered data are possible through the use of the different assessment techniques. So according to Depp et Order number 73 series of 2012, that assessment shall be used primarily as quality assurance to track the student's progress to the attainment of standards, self-reflection, and personal accountability for the learning, and provide a basis for the profiling of the student's program. So this chapter presents a various techniques and procedures of assessing students' outcomes which would help our teachers in making instructional, curricular, or administrative decisions. So first, we have traditional and authentic assessment. So paper and pencil tests or quizzes are the best examples of this kind of assessment. So which mainly describe and measure the students' learning outcomes. So most of the time, teachers still engage themselves in the utilization of the traditional assessment. So as Law and X 1995 state that traditional assessment are single occasion tests which measure what learners can do at a particular time. So more likely, teachers are still inclined with this kind of assessment because it is somehow used, and that traditional assessments are useful at that time. But traditional assessment are indirect and inauthentic measures of students' learning outcomes. So these are the drawbacks. So this assessment is standardized, and for that reason, they are one-shot, speed-based, and non-reference according to Bailey 1998. So traditional assessment often focus on the ability of memorization and recall, which could have a lower skill of cognition, right? So with the above findings, with the above drawbacks, so the use of traditional assessment has been a movement from traditional assessment towards authentic assessment. So there comes the authentic assessment, which focus on the analytical and creative thinking skills that students to work cooperatively and that reflect students' learning, students' achievement, and then student attitude of relevant activities. So in the other words, assessment is authentic when it measures performances or products. So the commonly reported dimensions of authenticity are grouped into three broad categories according to Frey 2012. So first, we have the context of assessment. So we have here realistic activity or context. So from the word realistic and contextual, so it should be real, wherein students context is specified and garnered in real life situations, or in other words, it is done in real life scenarios. So next, we have the task is performance based. So mostly, authentic assessment is inclined with performances, or it is really inclined in performance based assessment, or somehow authentic assessment is viewed as performance based assessment. And it is said to be authentic if it is put into real-based scenarios. So it is not authentic if it is not put in real-based scenarios. Third, we have the task is cognitively complex. So why complex? Because it considers all the necessary factors, including ages, ethnicity, intelligence, diversity, and even the differences of learning styles. So we all know that students have different learning styles. So these factors shall be the basis of an authentic teacher. Moving on, we have letter B, the role of the student. First, we have a defense of the answer or product is required. So as a student, you have the right to defend your answer and make your answers direct, right? So that is a right of the students in this kind of assessment. Next, we have the assessment is formative. So what do you mean by formative? So assessing the students in that particular point of time after an instructional plan and lesson, right? So that is the nature of formative assessment. So authentic assessment is somehow done formatively. Next, we have students collaborate with each other or with teacher. So students' collaboration with the teachers and co-students is very essential in this process. So they need to collaborate it in order to gather all the necessary information and data needed in that assessment. So for letter C, we have scoring. So the scoring criteria are known or student developed. What do you mean by that? So scoring criteria should be based or developed by students, so that in that instance, they are called authentic because students made it for them. So that is the essence. Next, we have multiple indicators or portfolios are used for scoring. So as we all know, we have a lot of indicators used for assessing or assessment, right? And portfolios used for profiling. So that will serve as an imprint of students' progress. So we all know that portfolios and indicators of authentic assessment are usually used in graph. Right. Going back, as we all know that portfolios and indicators are imprint of authentic assessment. So next we have, for the last one, we have that performance expectation is mastery. So here in authentic assessment, mastery is being considered. So in the present K-12 curriculum, so the students are expected to produce products or performances through authentic tasks. So in K-12 curriculum, so performances are merely used as assessment, kind of assessment in this field. So this should reflect what teachers want their students to do with their learning and demonstrate the use in real life situations. Why do you say so? Why do you say that? Why is it that DepEd or the Department of the K-12 program merely are really inclined in authentic assessment? It's because authentic assessment is somehow used in real life situation, and it is merely needed in our society today. So Wiggins 1989 argues the teacher should test those capacities and habits we think are essential and test them in context. So make them replicate with reason the challenges at the heart of each disciple. So authentic assessment has four basic characteristics. First, we have the task should be representative of performance in the field. Next, we have attention should be paid for teaching and learning the criteria of assessment. Third, we have that self-assessment should play a great role. And then, when possible, students should present their work publicly and defend it. So in general, below are some of the best uses of authentic assessments according to Miller 2010. Thank you.
So good morning everyone, I am Jinami O. Acabal and my assigned topic to report is all about authentic assessment by Mueller 2010. So what is authentic assessment? Authentic assessment measures performance. It is a representation in real world to be able to evaluate the realistic outcome. It uses criteria or rubrics, and lastly, it is publicized to encourage others. The best uses of authentic assessment by Mueller 2010. First, we have the authentic assessment are direct measures. Second is authentic assessment captures constructive nature of learning. And the third is authentic assessment integrated teaching, learning, and assessment. And the last is authentic assessment provide multiple paths to demonstration. Authentic assessment are direct measures, or it is a form of direct assessment that seek to evaluate students' knowledge and skills in a way that mirrors real-life situation. And also, it involves tasks and activities that are relevant to the students' experiences and are designed to demonstrate their ability to apply what they have learned in the practical context. Second is authentic assessment capture the constructive nature of learning. It serves as both an assessment and an instructional experience, enabling students to actively participate in the learning process. Or it means that the students construct their own knowledge and they are given an opportunity to explore themselves, the real world, and take learning from those experiences as they are encouraged to reflect upon those experiences and create their own representations and incorporate new knowledge in their existing body of knowledge. For example, you as a teacher, you give an example of abstract art to them. So you ask them to make a collage of pictures that contains widely known abstract arts and let them describe those works of arts one by one in front of the class. So in that way, the student's knowledge that he or she gathered about the topic, it will be tested or assessed, all while being able to apply and transfer that knowledge in a meaningful way and realistic way, or hence it particularly in the learning process. So that is the example. Next, we have the authentic assessment integrate teaching, learning, and assessment. So teachers are facilitators of learning. Students are given opportunities to practice skills while they are working toward the larger assessment. It means it integrates learning and assessing. It is used as a vehicle for students' learning, in which it measures the ability of the students to apply the knowledge and skills that they have acquired to various real life situations, and during this moment, teachers serve as facilitators that they guide and assess the students in learning by their own teachers and provide instructors or instructions to the students. Lastly, authentic assessments provide multiple paths to demonstrate learning. Learners are diverse. They all not learn in the same way. Through authentic assessment, teachers provides a variety of strategies to demonstrate learning. It means it allows learners to learn in their own learning styles, and that is why teachers provide a variety of strategies in delivering the learning to the learners, because that is their own way to cater the diversity inside the classroom. So that's all.
Good morning, everyone. I am Earl Amabel Luisa Monte, and I'll be going to discuss what is formative evaluation and summative evaluation. Assessment for learning pertains to the use of formative evaluation to determine and improve students' learning outcomes. On the other hand, assessment of learning uses summative evaluation, which provides evidence of students' level of achievement in relation to the curricular learning outcomes. These two evaluation or assessment are both essential roles in enhancing the teaching and learning process in education. So, what is formative assessment first? Formative assessment occurs at 3 points of instruction: during instruction, between lessons, and between units, or after instruction. Most formative assessment occurs during instruction, according to William and Letty 2007. This is when teachers are actively engaged in assessing students' progress as they instruct. Teachers are observing and using questions, giving feedback in informal targeted ways. This is typically based on quizzes, observation, student self-assessment, and other major assessment which are given at the end of time frames. So, formative evaluation focuses on assessing students' progress during the learning process. It provides feedback on the effectiveness of teaching and learning methods. Teachers use formative assessment to identify students' learning needs and adjust instruction accordingly. This type of assessment occurs throughout the learning process, including during instruction, between lessons, and after instruction. Formative assessment also aims to improve students' motivation and achievement by providing feedback and guiding teaching strategies. So, to sum up everything, formative evaluation focuses on assessing students. It is before, during, and after instruction, and it is graded but not recorded. Let's proceed to the summative assessment. Summative assessment or summative evaluation are conducted at the end of each section or unit to find out students' achievements. So, summative evaluation, on the other hand, is used to assess students' overall of achievement at the end of term unit or academic year. It provides evidence of students' level of achievement in relation to curricular learning outcomes. Summative assessments are typically conducted through traditional measurements such as exams, essay, or essays or projects, and they contribute to determining final grades and certification. So, in short, summative evaluation, it is the exams, the final grading, the overall grading after the formative assessment after the academic year. It is formally or traditionally in paper pencil or paper pen exams. So overall, um, formative assessment is a continuous process that aims to improve teaching and learning, while summative assessment provides a final evaluation of students' achievement in relation to academic standards. So again, this both types of evaluation plays essential roles in enhancing the teaching and learning process in education. So formative assessment is occurring during, before, during, and after, and it is graded but not recorded. And summative, it is the exams. It is the overall evaluation or overall gradings. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you got something from me, and let's proceed to the next reporter.
Hello everyone. So the topic that is given today is the norm reference assessment and the criterion reference assessment. So first is norm reference assessment. It is give us information on what the student can perform by comparing to another student. Uh, Ito ay dinidescribe ang performance ng isang estudyante base sa pagkumpara sa another students. Kumbaga, it is comparing the two students o dalawang uri ng estudyante sa isang performance na binigay mo sa kanila. Like for example, drawing. Kapag nagbigay ka ng task sa isang estudyante na drawing, ay nakabase kung sino yung pinakamagaling, kung sino yung sakto, kung sino yung kailangan pa ng tulong, ganon. By comparing sa kanilang drawing or sa kung ano yung resulta ng kanilang drawing. Yun yung norm reference. Ito ay nakabase ang kanilang performance ayon sa comparison sa another students. So next is criterion reference assessment. Describe the performance of the students without reference to the performance of others, which uses preset criteria or predefined in absolute standard or outcomes. So usually ito ay isang mastery ng isang estudyante kasi ito ay nakabase sa isang criteria or preset criteria na hindi ito kinukumpara sa ibang estudyante. Kumbaga kapag like for example nga nagbigay ka ng task, yun ay drawing. So kapag drawing, hindi na ikinukumpara kung ano yung kakayahan ng iba't ibang ng mga estudyante. Ito ay nakabase na sa criteria na binigay mo sa kanila. For example, it is the mastery of the student's individuality, hindi na comparison. So ganun yung difference ng norm reference assessment at ang criterion reference assessment. Yung norm reference assessment ay mayroong nagaganap na comparison, and ang criterion reference naman ay nakabase sa criteria or ito ay individual na mastery ng isang estudyante. Usually naman, ito ay nagagamit sa isang guro or nagagamit natin soon sa field kasi mayroon talagang assessment na kung saan kailangan ng comparison at kailangan rin ng individual ang gaganapin. So ito yung chart, principal use, major emphasis, interpretation of results, content of courage, nature of test plan, item selection procedures, and performance standards. So sa major emphasis, kung sa norm reference, ito yung survey testing, measures individual differences in achievements. So yun na nga, di ba? Kumbaga nakukumpara. And sa mastery naman describes tasks students can perform. Kung ano talaga yung kaya ng estudyante at hindi ikinukumpara sa isang estudyante din. So, interpretation of results, compare performance to that of other individuals. So, yun na nga yung sa norm, kumbaga survey, o tinatawag nating survey, ang norm reference at ang ang criterion, ito ay ang mastery testing. So, compares performance to a clearly specified achievement domain. So, sa kanya pa rin. Sa kanya yung comparison. For example, nagbigay ka na ngayon, tapos pagkabukas, binigay mo yun ulit. So, mayroong comparison, pero sa iisang estudyante lamang yon. And next ay content of courage. Typically covers a broad area of achievement, at sa criteria naman ay typically focuses on a limited set of learning tasks. So, sa nature of test plan naman, sa norm reference, table of specification is commonly used. So, yung TOS. At dito naman sa criterion ay detailed domain specification are favored. At sa item selection procedures, items are selected that provide maximum discrimination among individuals. Easy items are typically eliminated from the test. So, ito yung mga easy items, yung madaling masasagot, yung parang hindi na kailangan ng analyzation ng mga estudyante, ay kailangang i-eliminate. Kasi ito ay survey testing eh. Pero dito sa criterion reference ay mastery na lang. Yun, ay bahan nila. Includes all items needed adequately to describe performance. No attempt is made to alter item difficulty or to eliminate easy items to increases the spread of scores. So, yun na nga, walang magaganap na elimination dito sa criterion referenced assessment. Next ay ang performance standards. Level of performance is determined by relative position in some known group. And dito naman sa criterion ay level of performance is commonly determined by absolute standards. So, ito ay like demonstrates mastery by defining percent of technical terms. So, yun lang po. Ang key terms ng dalawa ay sa norm reference, ito ay survey. At sa sa criterion reference ay ang mastery. Yan naman po at maraming salamat.